The loud gunshot hit the trees like thunder, and for a heartbeat, I thought the world had split. Coffee mug clattered from my hand, porch boards cold beneath my feet, and then a scream that wasn't meant for the woods but for my chest. It was Luke, my boy. Porcelain rained across the planks and I ran, boots eating the dirt path, heart pounding like a drum. When I reached the clearing, my knees nearly gave out. He was on his knees beside the small horse, arms wrapped around her neck, his little chin buried in her mane, and he was sobbing in a way that cleaved right through me. They shot her, Dad. They shot Daisy. The animal lay on her side, blood dark on white fur, and for a moment the world went silent except for Luke's breath. I pressed my hand to her flank, cold, no pulse, and then I saw the men moving through the fence gap like it was their private lane. One of them laughed, like a regular Saturday hunt. "That's deer country," he called back, as if that explained the sight of a child's dead therapy animal. My brain jolted. "That's not a deer. That's my son's pony. What the hell are you doing on my land?" I said. The short one shrugged. "We had permission. Some lady from the HOA said it was okay." 3 little words that tasted like rust. Perched on the rise like a bird watching a show was Karen. Pastel sun hat, bright pink cardigan, arms folded, lips pursed, the portrait of someone convinced of her own rightness. She had handed strangers the code to our gate, and Daisy lay still because of it. I told Luke to go inside, to tell his mom to call the sheriff, and I walked up to Karen with my phone recording and a cold kind of fury tight under my skin. A week before, life had been a string of small things. Coffee on a chipped mug, a 10-acre spread with hay dust in the mornings, a boy who loved animals enough to learn patience. We weren't part of the HOA, or so we thought. Then Karen appeared at the gate with flyers. "Trim those hedges. Your flag isn't proper." She smiled like she was doing us a favor and left prints in places she had no right to touch. Melissa told me not to stoke it. "She's lonely," she said. "Let it go." That lasted until we found tire tracks by the creek, candy wrappers near the chicken coop, and a laminated sign nailed to our fence. Community Wildlife Access Trail, authorized entry permitted by HOA Council. I ripped that sign down and thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Turns out Karen had printed maps, handed out gate codes, and told men with rifles our back pasture was open for hunting. So that's how strangers walked into my boy's life. When I confronted her, she didn't look embarrassed. She looked annoyed I was fussing. "It's only a pony," she said, the kind of scorn only people who never love something can muster. I recorded her. She said it again. "It's just a pony." My blood ran hot. Officer Ray's voice on the phone the next morning changed everything. "You won't believe what we found," he said. At the sheriff's office, they had a map with thumbtacks and a cooler dug up near the west fence filled with hunting bait, and in that cooler a sheet labeled "Permitted HOA Hunting Grounds" signed by Karen Whitman. My drone footage caught the hunters leaving after the shot. It also caught them burying something just before they left. The sheriff told me they'd been tracking that crew for months. Poaching, selling meat, crossing state lines. Karen didn't get cuffed that day. Instead, she drove up in a white Lexus with a man in a cheap suit and handed us a notice. Our memorial was an unauthorized structure on shared HOA land and had to be removed. She wanted to make our son's grief illegal. Melissa recorded her like we might need the world to hear the kind of things some people say when they think they're untouchable. That's when Stephanie, a former board member, slid a flash drive across a coffee shop table and said, "I'm sorry I didn't speak up." The emails on that drive read like something out of a bad movie. Spa weekends for board members, gift cards, mortgage help in exchange for approving maps. Ted, the neighbor who knew how to read a plat, dug into county records and found the original deeds that showed our ranch was outside the HOA lines. Pieces fit together into a map of greed. We built a memorial anyway, a white arch, daisy saddle on a post, drawings kids had made. The town showed up like neighbors do when grief is plain and small voices need help. For a week, there was a fragile peace, and then at 3 in the morning, smoke cut the air. By the time sirens threaded through the dark, the arch was a skeleton, the saddle carbon black. Someone had used accelerant. Cameras caught a hooded figure. A melted gas can lay in the scorched grass. Arson. The footage was grainy, but the way she walked, signature boots, a bright scarf under a hood, gave Ray pause. Karen went full procedural chess. Emergency HOA meetings, a last-minute bylaw claiming minors couldn't speak at board sessions, motions to seize our land. They tried to make the town's rules a weapon, but the room split. Stephanie testified. Ted unrolled plats. Officer Ray walked in with a folder, and then Ed, a man who'd been on the board and quit angry, stood up and played a recorded call where Karen's voice plotted to make ranchers beg to be bought out. That recording was the twist, the switch that changed the way faces in the room looked at her. Charges followed: fraud, trespassing, conspiracy, arson. 2 weeks later, Karen was taken from her bed at dawn. No pastel hat, no clipped smile, just cuffs and a mugshot that looked like the end of a long con. She fought back with lawyers. As you'd expect, she even filed a nasty counterclaim suing Luke for slander. It was a last-ditch effort to bully a 10-year-old into silence. It stung, but didn't stop the tide. The real turning point came from a kid's courage. We went to the Civic Center the night Luke spoke, and it was packed. Ranchers, moms with thermoses, teenagers in boots, reporters. He climbed the podium with a notebook and told them about Daisy, how she helped him talk, how she made school less scary, how she used to nudge him when he felt stuck. His hands trembled at first and then steadied. "I just want people to know the truth," he said, and the place full of adults felt the weight of plain words. The applause that followed was the kind that rebuilds things. Federal agents came after that, because forged permits had crossed state lines, and Karen's network wasn't just local gossip. She'd sold access, taken money, and left a trail. Our ranch was labeled federal evidence, and we were key witnesses. Hunters who'd paid for fake permits showed up at the county office, furious they'd been conned. Some begged for refunds. Some admitted they never meant to hurt a child. The paper trail did what anger couldn't. Neighbors brought tools. Mr. Clay hauled cedar and iced tea. The Monroe twins taped up drawings. Volunteers painted tiles for the new memorial. We rebuilt Daisy's arch, stone and cement this time, tiles painted by kids, solar lights, cameras on every corner. We adopted Buttercup, a honey-colored mare, and Luke trained her like he had trained his courage. A National Animal Therapy Foundation reached out with funding, and from a tragedy came Daisy Strong, a small nonprofit offering therapy animals to kids and veterans, a way to turn out a wound into something that healed. In court, the judge said, plain as a bell, "You didn't just break laws, Ms. Whitman. You broke trust." She was denied bail. The town breathed. Karen's allies resigned once the audit showed money had been siphoned to fake improvement projects. The developers who later tried to revive the scheme with forged papers backed off when maps, deeds, and reporters lined the porch. An angry hunter spat on our dirt one morning and warned us we'd pay. We tightened cameras and kept the barn doors reinforced. We kept a shotgun by the mudroom not because we wanted blood, but because we wouldn't be bullied. If there's a moral, it's not tidy. It's two things held together. That power left unchecked can turn petty cruelty into crime, and that a community that looks the other way makes it easier. But it's also that small voices matter. A 10-year-old's grief, spoken plainly, moved a town. A neighbor's courage to hand over a flash drive changed the story. People showed up and did ordinary, stubborn things. They brought wood, they testified, they wrote checks, they painted tiles. That steady attention is the thing that stops predators with clipboards. Months later, the ranch feels different in the best way. Buttercup follows Luke like a shadow. The memorial stands strong. Families come for free sessions under a sign that reads Daisy Strong, and the county has designated our land a protected agricultural and therapeutic zone. We still watch the edges. There are people who profit off other folks' lives, and they don't disappear overnight. But a lot of the fear has been replaced by purpose. The truth is messy. It doesn't end with a gavel or a headline. It ends with people choosing to stay when they could walk away, with a kid choosing to speak when he might have stayed quiet, with neighbors bringing flowers instead of folding. Tell me, what would you have done in our shoes? And if you've been silenced before, say so. I want to hear how you found your voice. If this moved you, share it. Sometimes the loudest kind of justice starts with a single honest voice.